At all times, a sanctuary has also been a place of education. In the Agni Yoga temple are located the study evenings and the school, which we talked about already. Newcomers to our community must first begin an education. Only when they transform into immortal spirits can they become members. They go through the program of exercises which is described in our series Experiment Immortality. We have already said, most Agni Yoga communities worldwide have failed after a short time. That means we have to make the people who come to us and want to work together with us fit for community life. Inter alia, the exercises, fiery condition, the path of the inner temple, and life in the ashram of the teacher serve this purpose. An Agni Yoga community urgently needs to educate hierarchs who are able to enforce the cosmic order in their area of responsibility. A huge and completely new field of activity opens up here. The old world has no concept for selecting teachers and leaders and training them not only intellectually, but above all in terms of character and spirit. We have to develop it. The education never ends. Every member must strive to keep growing and become more and more capable, so that we can fill every position with a suitable spiritual ruler. The dream of the high-minded among us is to climb ever upwards in this hierarchy. We are not working for us, we are working for the future. Therefore, a careful education of our children is of paramount importance for the prosperity of our community. We depend on them to continue our work one day. What we implant into them today, they will return to us tomorrow. He who receives today will give tomorrow. We do not want to raise another generation of ignorance. Therefore, we must by no means rely on the education of the schools and churches of the old world. It is a gigantic task to free our children from the burden of the atavism of the past and to really elevate them to a higher level than the old generation. We educate the young earthlings to new men, to beings of spirit of the sixth race. We teach them from an early age love for the Mahatmas, admiration and respect for their earthly representatives, selflessness and service. We impart to them the basic knowledge and the practical skills they need in order to become valuable members of the community of the future. We make the children fit for the future in the truest sense of the word, especially mentally. How easily a child understands our values, how naturally it adopts their realization. What a mistake to think that one must give a child its own things. A child can easily understand that things may be held in common. On the other hand, how difficult will it be for an adult to integrate into the world of the future if he has grown up as a child under the application of principles exactly to the contrary? Do you really want to introduce an old type of divine service with liturgy, psalm singing, and sermon? No, that is antiquated. We had already talked about the great spiritual and practical importance of stepping before the teacher. The divine service of the new era looks like this. In the morning, at noon, and in the evening, in the Agni Yoga temple, we are stepping before the higher world, our masters, the rulers of the earth, the Mahatmas of the Brotherhood of Shambhala, not only individually, but in common. Thus, we affirm our community, the connection with our leaders, and the incorporation into the hierarchy. Together, we report for education and service. We receive for the upcoming day tasks for our personal development and assignments for service on earth. It is of the utmost importance that we give, at fixed times, the necessary room to the cultivation of this spiritual foundation of our community. The new man and the communities of the new world are being guided from above. We new differ from the old man in that we are in constant connection with the higher world. Without that, we would not be able to act in accordance with the cosmic order and the will of the Brotherhood. The word religion comes from Latin religare, to attach. The divine service of the new age is designed in such a way that we actually establish and keep alive the attachment of the community to the spiritual world of Shambhala. This does not require many words or great ceremonies. Together, we raise our vibration and tune in to the Shambhala vibration. The Agni Yoga temple is also the seat of the teacher. Here, all matters of the spiritual and worldly government of the community are being discussed and decided. There are two fundamental foundations for all communities of the future. First, selfless service and selfless sharing. Second, the hierarchic principle. When building an Agni Yoga temple, both are now becoming very concrete. Let us start with the principle of selflessness. Everything, the entire functioning of the community, is based on the principle of sharing. We share the necessary work fairly among all members. We share the proceeds we generate together fairly among ourselves. This is precisely where we differ from the old world with its greed, and from the old materially minded selfish men who do not want to know anything about sharing. Anyone who wishes to become a member with us has to acquire a completely new attitude. I contribute as much as I can to the prosperity of the community. I claim as little as possible for myself. The old man's competitive thinking revolves around amassing as much as possible for themselves. We new men compete with one another to get along with as little as possible. It is not our aim to extort the highest possible prices for our services, but, on the contrary, to offer them as favorably as we can. This is only feasible if we are content with a modest standard of living. All work that is necessary in the temple, from shopping and preparing the meals, via cleaning and raising the children, up to professional offers to the customers, is shared fairly between the members. Everyone has to make a contribution according to his abilities. If you do not want to work, you cannot be a member. If any would not work, neither should he eat. In return, all the proceeds we generate from the sale of our services go to a common fund, which means they are jointly owned and only then fairly distributed among the co-workers. You see, a comparatively modest project like a small temple offers a huge field of experimentation. Here the new world is tried out. No unemployment through sharing the labor. No poverty through sharing the income. The main cause for the catastrophic state of the earth, for the destruction of the basis of life, for misery, suffering, violence, war, poverty, and unemployment is the egotism of the people. The main contribution of the Agni Yoga temple to the salvation of the world is the forming of a model community in which this selfishness is overcome. If you just start, you will soon perceive how the principle of sharing is theoretically good, beautiful, and simple, but in practice extremely difficult to realize. A harrowing example of the practical problems involved in sharing labor is Halcyon, the seat of the Temple of the People. Here, the head of the community and chief physician of the clinic operated there, William H. Dower, often had to do the milking of the cows himself, because the assigned staff had failed to carry out this task. What does justice mean with regard to the sharing of money? Is the same amount allocated to all? Do those who do more or higher quality work get a larger share? Or those who need more, for example, because they have children? Yes, we see the application of a principle in everyday practice raises many questions. Every community will have to sort out all that for itself. There is no harm if there are different solutions according to the level of consciousness. We are all still on the way. Let us cite as an example another particularly difficult case taken from real life. A member has an adult child that does not belong to the community. The child becomes sick and needs an extremely expensive therapy. The member feels obliged to support his child. His share is not big enough for that. So he would have to leave the community in order to earn the necessary money somewhere else. Shall we increase his share? How do you think about the case? It is hard to decide without knowing the individuals involved. The first question is, what can the community afford at all? If we are speaking of increasing the members' share by 10 or 20%, it will be easier to accommodate him than if we had to double, triple or quintuple the share in order to cover the costs of the treatment. Furthermore, the community must also ask itself, is the member so irreplaceable that we cannot afford to lose him? In general, however, we must recognize, as long as someone still has such a heavy karma to bear, he is not ready to be a member of a spiritual project. He should actually recognize for himself that he first has to solve his personal problems and must not burden the community with something for which it is not responsible